what's going on with the market here? I saw pre-market up a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. About to get a new weekly range here on SPY. God, it was a short week last week. That's for damn sure. How was that weekly end? It was above, wasn't it? Geez, did we even ever? We didn't. SPY's data set never even got up to last week's weekly range. All right, it's getting trapped under the monthly. That's what's going on. Last 2 days of last week, right? We got the new monthly candle. Definitely rejected hard. One SD was there too Friday. So I kicked it down. I was looking through some lower time frames and nothing looks real good. Volatility's low a little bit on some.
They're sitting right on the first standard deviation for the week.
You talking SPY or Bitcoin?
SPY.
Yeah, let me take a peeky poo. I went down and tested it, didn't it? Last week?
Yeah.
So Shama? Yeah. You know what? Yeah. Last week it dropped below the 95.4. I don't even have to adjust it. I will though. I don't want to because I got it on Bitcoin. You can tell I moved this up. It's just gonna raise it. So this weekly candle, this will be the first one to open below that 95.4. Oh, screw it, I'll just reset it. Let's see. Let's back these up one. I want to see how far below the 95.4 is. Let's see here. Wow. Wow. Man, oh man. It definitely does not look good. I'll tell you that for sure. Especially the last few weeks. I mean, it's been random. Random price actions floating down, dumping. Let's call it a dump. Yeah, we'll call it a dump. This next week, well, I'll tell you what. We could see somewhere in the 70s here if shit doesn't turn around real fast for SPY. What do we got? 24 minutes. Let's see if we can peek on anything here. How this closed. Closed on hidden bull. Last 45-minute candle definitely. Volatility was kicking up. Let's see. Little hidden bull on the returns oscillator. The fishers are all locked up though to the downside. What about the 90-minute? Yeah. None of these intraday time periods look good, really, to be honest. Getting this early 15-minute, yeah. 15-minute, definitely showing this little bit of coming into this new day. A little bounce there. Some bull div. Turn oscillator above the zero mean. Correlation is high. Correlation is high. But while we're waiting for that market to open, let's flip over to everyone's favorite. Let's do that. I don't know about everyone's favorite, but it's my favorite. Love the Bitcoin. And yeah. 3 weeks ago, right? We started this down move, rejected off the zero mean. Hit the 95.4 Laplace. Down here on the projection. It's kicking it sideways. This is what usually happens too. You can go back and look. I mean, very rarely, like we've seen lately with some volatility, right? We're busting through the 95.4 like we just showed on SPY. But usually you'll get down to that 95.4 Laplace region, and it's either going to kick price action sideways. It's just all probabilities, right? Or it's going to create a little reversal, go back up, maybe a mean revert. I'll tell you what, this could be. I was talking about this area, and we started moving down to the downside, and I was like, yeah, this could be ugly. Maybe we're going to get another chance. This thing's going to come back up and mean revert again. I'll tell you what, if it rejects there, we could get a hard push to the downside. Hard push. Let me see. Let's go to BTC. The VRE. Yep. Tough weekly. Had a nice pump yesterday, right? Or at the beginning of the day. Sorry. Jesus. Shot it up above this tight weekly range. Man, they sent our sellers whoop, right back down below. Now a couple nice rejection anyway earlier. So we're on top of the daily 68.3 Laplace and the daily range. That's why I love using all this together, right? Because it makes a big difference when you get these distribution levels around these volatility ranges. It can be pretty damn powerful, really can be powerful. See what happens. Okay. BTC on the 90 minute. 90 minutes screaming my name. I don't know why. I'm surprised these Laplace bands aren't super tight. Well, obviously the volatility on the 525. 981.40. Yeah. 2400 is pretty high still. Look at the Fisher. Tell you what though, there's no divs. There's no divs on these lower time frames, and this thing could definitely kick up today. I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see SPY too. I mean, that last week's volatility range did not get tested, not even close. Once that market opens, we'll go back over there and get a better look, see what the percentages are and whatnot. Good stuff though. Good stuff.
Yeah, and that's a pretty rare thing when you got a range like that not getting tested, right, on a weekly. So that is pretty improbable to have 2 weeks like that in a row, especially when the last week was the week before Labor Day, and now it's the week after Labor, the week of the Labor Day holidays just passed. So you got a lot of people come back to work from vacation, etc. Things happen. We expect this week to be very interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be for sure. I agree 100%.
Yeah. Less boring than a lot of weeks.
Yeah. Let's stretch this out just a little bit. Let's see where's this weekly range going to be at? Oh, I'll tell you what, man. I mean, there was just... that was a pretty decent size range. I'm surprised that we got that much movement, to be honest. We're probably gonna have a bigger so BTC's got a tight weekly range. SPY though, I would imagine SPY is gonna be pretty damn wide. Maybe the center around I'll tell you what, it's gonna be real close to 400, I bet. Real close. Real close. Right around 400. Right in this area, maybe. Big range, though. But like Yasha just said, very interesting week for sure. See how this is going to play out. We got all kinds of political bullshit going on in the States. Obviously, when have we not? When have we not?
Yeah. That's par for the course. Thank goodness we created the charts. Totally.
Right? Exactly.
Yep.
Show me the
100%,
chart.
man.
Show us the chart. We'll tell you the fucking news. That's how it usually works.
Show us the charts. We can ignore the news. Sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Let's see here. What do we got? 18 minutes. Let me go back on to BTC. BTC. Yeah. Wick went right to the bottom too. So right now, price action's in between this weekly range. You know me, I'm forever an optimist about these markets, but yeah. Bear market will definitely skew your thought process a bit. Look at all this. I don't care how long you've been trading the markets. It's always right. It always you're just kind of just in wonderment. And I love it too, man. There used to be such a separation between these traditional markets and crypto, man. That gap is closed. We were talking about this last week. You know, God, man, they look like shitcoin charts. They literally look like shitcoin charts. It's crazy. There used to be a lot more stability in the traditional markets. I'll tell you what, man. These guys got turned loose in the crypto markets, and they're like, "Oh, is this the way it's supposed to be?" Wild West, huh? Yes, sir. Yes, sir, indeed. I was listening to Tasty Trade right before I got on. I mean, it's not like those guys don't know what they're talking about. It'd just be nice if they would just. And they're talking about other shops' deltas. Somebody asked a question about other shops' deltas. They're not matching up Tasty Trades, and they were like dogging them, saying, "Oh, they're using old stuff and blah blah blah." God, I wish I had a microphone right then. I'd be like, "Hey, so why don't you take the lead then? Right? Why don't you interject some more volatility into your reads, man? We're not asking you to change the way you trade. We're trying to get people to realize there's more than implied volatility. There's nothing wrong with implied volatility, but you're leaving so much on the table, it's ridiculous. I mean, just crazy ridiculous. And now we've got the reverse mean of log returns. I mean, for crying out loud. You put the projection bosses with the RMLR, and you've got our VRE. Man, I mean, like I've said before, I'm stacking cash right now to fund a trading account, and yeah, it's gonna be good times. Want to open up a brokerage account, start trading options again. A lot less stressful, no doubt about that. Even though at heart I'm a low time frame volatility trader. Not saying I'm not going to do that, but yeah, options, man. Options. Got to go down the rabbit hole. As we bullshit waiting for traditional markets to open. This is fuck, man.
Hang on. Before we jump into that, hang on, because we got a couple people on here that I want to make sure I make RMLR clear, because Iscari had asked about that. Is that all right? Can I talk about that for a second before the market opens?
Yep, go, bro.
Yeah, all right. Iscari, if you're listening, I hope you are. If not, you'll see this in the YouTubes later. But basically, RMLR is extremely useful for long-term analysis of like getting the high time frames like I wrote, because you can see very clearly that the returns moves the price action to and from the mean, obviously, and the reverse mean, and back and forth, and it kind of, zigzags across the mean. And when you have things like an intersection of an RMLR and a mean, when an RMLR crosses a mean, you usually get a nice move within a couple of candles. And you can look at the daily chart to see that for an example in the last few weeks. And when you have a move of the price action separately, when you have a move of the price action gets to a third standard deviation of the RMLR bands, you basically very, very rarely, pretty much never, but very rarely have like one or more than one RMLR hit that third standard deviation and stay above it. It usually pulls back within it, usually. And when it does, a mean reversion begins. So when price action, again, hits third standard deviation of the RMLR, that's pretty much around the time you better start looking for a mean reversion to start. It happens like clockwork. And it happens a little bit more often on the low time frames that you'll get one or two or maybe, three little touches within a few candles, like on the 1 minute I'm talking about. But anything higher than like 1 minute, 3 or 5 or 15 or whatever, if you see even one candle hit the third standard deviation of the RMLR, there will be a mean reversion. I mean, that is extremely probable. Very, very, very high probability. What is useful also on the low time frames is because the direction predictor, when it's set on the right settings, tells you very accurately the direction that is likely to happen, and you have the direction of the RMLR being predicted very accurately by the RMLR. Those two things together can be, let's just say, dynamite for scalps. It can be extremely useful to scalp with that indicator, the RMLR.
Oh, dude, big time.
Yeah. So that's basically how I use it. And sometimes I put two of them on a chart, or very often I leave two of them on a chart with different length settings, like 3012 and 1110 or whatever. And it's in the channels also, the other stuff about it. But those, when you see like two RMLRs cross and cross a mean, and they both cross at the same time, and you got like the mean in between, oh boy, you tend to get some nice moves on that. Like on higher time frames especially, but even on low time frames, it works out very nicely. That's how I use those as like kind of like a scissors. And the reason for that is very simple. When you have the RMLRs and the means crossing, you typically have low volatility or low variance, whatever you want to look at, very, very low. And then there's really not much for the volatility to do except expand, right? So you'll typically see the RMLR and the means cross, again, when there's low volatility and often low correlation, or low volatility and high correlation, and there will be a significant move as a result. That's how I use it, in short.
Which is great. So yeah, I did notice on your charts you're running. So are you just running two different lengths of your RMLR, or what? What are you doing?
Yeah. When I put two of them on there, so I'll have like a 3012 and an 1110, and I'll look and I'll notice and I'll keep an eye on the volatility and see that when the volatility is low and they intersect with the mean, I mean, you know what they say, the tendency is, right, when you got low volatility, it has to expand, and depending on what the correlation is, if it's high or low, if it's going to go up or down, the direction. It's very, very, very probable going to do what the tendency says.
Yeah.
So that's how I use it to scalp, and that's also how I use it to analyze long term. But on long term, I don't really. I mean, I will look at it with the two RMLRs, but it's not so necessary. Unless there's like a crossing happening, then I'll slap a second one on there just to confirm if there's a double RMLR cross or something. But short time frames, I definitely use two when there's a cross to see that, and then there's the variance or the volatility or the z-score or whatever, and you'll see that there is typically just extremely low volatility when they cross, and it's getting ready for a move within a couple candles. Happens like clockwork. Sometimes it's 3-4 candles if it's like on a Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday happens or whatever, and it'll be like on Monday you'll get the move, or Sunday night, when the markets go back, CMEs or whatever. So those kind of things happen a lot with the RMLR, and that's why it's one of the reasons I find it to be an extremely useful indicator. Not to mention the fact that it's an indicator that literally tells you something about the future, just like the projection bosses tell you something. The projection bosses tell you a very nice range of what's likely to happen in the future based on standard deviations or Laplace distributions. Similarly, the RMLR is extremely accurate at telling you the direction of the RMLR in the future. It doesn't tell you exactly the price because it's not a price indicator, but it does tell you the direction that is most likely to happen. Especially in normal settings like 3012 or 1110, you will see most of the time the RMLR does go in that direction. Why is that important? Well, if you know the direction of the reverse mean, you can figure out what the direction of the mean is also going to be in that time frame. And then you can have an idea of whether or not there's mean reversion happening to the upside, to the downside, or sidewalking, or whether or not there's no mean reversion happening because the move is still happening where it's moving away from the mean, right? It's either trending away or randomly walking away from, or trending towards or randomly walking towards the mean, right? That's all price action really ever does in relation to that, because it's following the returns. So when you know the reverse means, literally, when you know the future of the reverse means, the future of the likelihood of the returns action driving the PA a certain way, which again goes against everything every financial service or product will ever tell you, which is that past price action does not predict was not a predictor of future returns as a complete lie. And I can prove it. Like, we know it tells you the future of the reverse means, therefore it tells you an indication of the future of the means. It's just the reverse. But it is absolutely spot on accurate for 99% of the time or more that I've looked on any asset on any time frame.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't really say that about too many other indicators.
The SPY weekly range is a lot tighter than I thought it was going to be. Massive failure.
Yep.
All good. Jesus. Yeah, it's pretty tight actually, man.
Yep.
No, that's we need to actually probably snippet that out. That would be a great video for the RMLR. Everything else you just talked about right there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Maybe make it private. Maybe make it private so only our members can see it for a while or something. No, I'm kidding.
Exactly.
We've already discussed this a lot in videos. We've already discussed this, but that would be a good snippet. Why not?
Yes, that's why I didn't say a word during that whole awesomeness.
Yeah, 100%. Oh yeah, we got a 1%. We got about a 1% range SPY. So I'll tell you what, it makes sense. I mean, I should have looked at the core. I mean, I know what the correlation is. They're all correlated, you would think. So this range,
market open.
It's almost just as tight as BTC's, but just like BTC opened up under the weekly. But man, last week's did not get tested. Right here. Boom. And that was at 407.75 is the bottom.
Yeah, that's when it does not test for the whole week.
Yeah, it did. I mean, it made a little move right here, but that's nothing. Especially to get rejected and dump right back down to where it started. That's no good.
Yeah.
Never made a run at it.
Yeah.
I mean, the closest it got is when it opened and it just ran away.
Right.
I would have seen a wick even into here, like 405, 406. I'd be like, okay, that's all good. It didn't though. It didn't even try. No, well, it's all good. We like our tight range. We're gonna see some action. Let's see what changed on the weekly read on SPY here. Telling you what, man, I'm gonna be watching these fishers, especially after the close this week. But man, there's some hidden bull div on the weekly for sure. And the Z score is still charging, still turned up. But that's the only div. About the daily. Yeah, this thing to me, I mean, look at this bull div. And the Z score. That's what I like to see too. You see bull div above the return or above the zero mean, and then you've got the Z score on an outlier down into these confidence intervals. Volatility totally just zapped. I mean, it's printing a 4 right now. But if this expands, I mean, it's still the predictor is still trending to the downside.
Yep.
A good day will flip that quick.
Yep.
It's
been testing to the downside, or if you want to call it that, or whatever. It's been trying to move down, you keep seeing some zigzagging the last week or two.
Right.
Going up and down since that drop, like 10, 12 days, whenever it was, 2 Fridays ago. And it's ripe for a move.
Yeah. Yeah, and
I would not
on
be surprised to see it fool people.
It's pretty. Everything's random too.
Yeah.
So now
and the nice thing about that, when it's so random, the only thing it can do is move out of randomness and back into trend.
Yep. I mean, look at BT or look at SPY on the weekly, and it doesn't get any more random. So yeah, and that's love about entropy. It's not like, well, maybe no, there's no maybe. You're either in randomness or trend.
Yep.
That's like,
and just like volatility, when it's completely compressed, it's likely to expand.
Yep.
Which means when it's fully random, it's likely to move back into trend eventually. And when it's fully trending, it's likely to move back into random mode.
Totally.
Very powerful. Very powerful information.
Yes, it is for sure. It is for
So what's
sure.
even more amazing is those 6 tendencies on volatility work the same on entropy.
Right. Let's see. Now let's drop down into SPY's 4-hour. Yeah, this Z-score. Look at the Z-score on SPY on the 4-hour. Whole time this is dropping. It was staying above that number. Yeah, right. And just like on that daily, bull div. Bull div, bull div, bull div. But the volatility, right? It's in the line. And we're contracting positively correlated to predictor on the daily and the 4 hours to the downside.
Yeah, daily's got a nice bull there. Daly's got bull div on top of bull div. Like it's an extended bull div. Started the 19th of August.
Even on 90-minute. I mean,
that's significant.
Right. Yeah.
And we're in a negative trend on the daily.
And the daily
curving down. But
Jesus. When you see the fissures like this, it's no joke.
Yeah. Look at that. That's all. I mean, it's pushing down that third standard deviation band on the fissure.
Yeah, and I don't even have my. Let me turn my bands back on. I usually don't have them on. Just like even on the RMLR, I just turn them back on. Just because you know how they crush the indicator. Let me see.
Yeah.
Where are you? You're down here, aren't you? You little bugger. There we go. Oh God, yeah, it is, man. It's below it. I'm just gonna have 3 SD band
below the second, and it's pushed down the third already quite a bit. Like the third's moved down because of a drop. So it's an expansion on the bands. You got the average. You got the average falling through the zero. And the DLP also is getting down. It's not even flashing yet, but it's down in past the first confidence interval, almost at the second.
Yeah, there we go. Man, I could have swore those bands crushed the fissure, but it doesn't. Okay, don't listen to me.
Yeah, no, it's between the second and the third, but it's been dropping so hard that the bands are expanding already.
Yeah.
And when it gets down there, I mean, it's already at the second. That's a 95.5 basically. And you've got such low ALR right now, so tight. It wants to make a move. Z scores move like on the daily, and on the SPY, you got the Z score at the 0, moving up, positively correlated.
Wonder where our
returns oscillated as pointing up.
Haven't seen them new folks for a while. I think we melded their brain with knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah, a couple of them were making comments in the public chat, like, I need help. Like, well, I don't know what to do.
I like having it open. I mean, it's like we don't need to worry about any foolishness. If anybody comes in being a fool, we can just kick them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's much better like this. Open venue. Come on in. See what we're doing.
Yeah.
See what we're doing. Watch a couple streams. Let us melt your brain.
Right. And ask questions.
We're not under any illusion. This is not hard to understand at first. It's very hard, especially if you've been dicking around with traditional TA hardcore.
Yeah.
That's why if you're listening out there, there's only one way to do this. You got to shit can all that stuff. You cannot revert back. If you do, you're going to even be more lost.
Yeah.
That's what I try to tell people. If you found us and you're even just listening, there's a reason. Let it play out, man. Trust the process.
I think we can see a nice little pump here on SPY soon.
Let's
gonna fool everybody out.
Yeah, I'm dropped down here on the 90-minute.
I'm looking at the 5. It's getting ready to do something.
These scores definitely got popping from some hidden bull here. And there, one fisher's turned up. Returns oscillators turned up, like I said, with a bunch of bull div on the 90. I bet the 45 is even more extended. Yeah, well, not really.
The mean on the 5 and the 1 have already flipped up. So, and it's riding above the mean. So,
yeah, I'm gonna definitely work on that chart a little more. I throw another one on there, and because I was looking at your charts. I was like, that is interesting. What you were talking about. Like, okay.
Yeah, that's a very, I mean, man, RMLR, dude, I mean, Van F, oh my gosh, what he made with that and what we discovered with it and what he was able to cook up. Like when we discovered that thing, he was able to make it.
He's like, I didn't even pay you for that.
Yeah, he gave us the indicator to test out the bands and see something about the means and stuff. And we're like, wait a minute, this actually tells you the future. Yeah. I can see the future.
Because, hey, you just, you just crushed decades of bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. We literally just discovered like I imagine it's like a drill piercing a hole into this like impervious shell, this like, this foggy impervious shell, and this like we drilled a hole into that through it, and we can just a pinhole into the future, and it's so accurate. It's amazing. It's like a laser beam. Amazing. It is. 100%. But just a tiny little pinhole of information opened up a world of other things, and then you add on the direction predictor from Donnie. It's just those guys. Those guys just make amazing tools. And by the way, RMLR is not something I have seen anywhere else. Although I'm sure there's, some people have figured out what to do with this, maybe like we have, but obviously they're not sharing it on YouTube like we do. You cannot find information like this elsewhere on the internet. It's just, you're not going to find it. Like, this is stuff that's very secret. They keep this in-house kind of thing. And if you have access to this, it's unbelievable.
All 15 of the people that watch our videos know this.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And maybe someone at some HFT firm that knows it, or I don't know what, or some quant shop or something. But
sick is it when what they know like that, where you just like the information that we're just spilling out, and just people are just like, no thanks. It's just like, wow, it's like a microcosm of the world right now.
Yeah. Exactly. I could literally put up a video of a fart, and I'm not kidding, just a fart, and I would even call the video something like fart, or even just some random name. It would get more views, more shares, more likes, more comments.
You're canning your farts for sale in mason jars, right? Yeah. You probably get 100,000 views.
Right. And you can do that if you're if you're good enough TikToker or something. You get millions of views on a fart. But like you want to tell people accurate math-based information about how to actually trade. Nope. No, we don't want that. We want signals and triangles and fibs and other things that lie.
100%.
Now, I don't know if you watched that video, though, of that Alex dude who had his channel. I mean, the little bit of hope I was trying to talk about was that, I mean, those guys, I mean, like, we've only been doing these streams, like, for what, a year and a half or something?
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, some of these channels don't get traction for, like, 5 years. So, we're still early. We're still early.
Oh, yeah. No, I know, but that's not even I mean, dude, it's like, people are searching for ways to trade constantly, right? That's not a topic that's like too niche. There are people looking for ways to trade, millions of them, right?
Sure.
But they don't look up this stuff. They look up the easy wins.
Yeah. Of course.
Easy, but actually they're easy losses. So yeah, that's why. I mean, obviously, and whatever. Like I said, like it's all right. Nobody wants to watch it.
We should just start titling all of our stuff. Breakout trade. Triangle formation. We just put a bunch of TA stuff in the title.
Yeah, exactly.
Donnie, we're gonna Bilbo's labor. Yeah. Be like the 3-pound taco truck baby.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah. The 21 EMA is garbage. There, I've mentioned the 21 EMA. Yeah, now I can mention the 21 EMA that's in the title.
Yeah, no, we do.
The golden pocket is a lot.
All about the thumbnails and the titles. We do. Let's start being tricky with that shit.
But the funny thing is, like, as long as we're not popular, it just extends our runway to easy liquidity from more people. I mean,
oh my gosh. Well, here's the sad part is we could have 100,000 people in here and still not move a market. I mean,
right. And even if 100,000 people were using this stuff correctly, the other 10 million or whatever it is are not, and therefore it would not actually lower the edge. Yeah.
Plenty of liquidity. We got another 10 years of plenty of liquidity.
Yeah, yellow.
We're looking for the yellow 21. Has anybody seen it? What?
Strong enough recorded it. No, but that's the thing is like because people don't want to learn. Like everybody in the world could know this way of trade, could have heard about this way of trading and even looked at it, and still most people would do it incorrectly.
Yeah,
just because they're bad traders. They will trade emotionally. They will not limit their losses, and they won't take profit.
Yeah.
Bottom line, doesn't matter what tools you give them.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's the big
point. We could condense. Think about it. You could probably condense all of these tools into a overall button that just says buy or sell, right? Or overall indicator that says all this stuff is telling you to buy or sell if you average the scores or whatever and you weigh them properly, and still people would get it wrong.
Yeah.
Like it's mind blowing. People don't want to learn. Oh well.
Which, like we always say, it's all good. We're here for you, people. We're here for you. But at the same time,
yeah, you got to be willing to learn something.
Yeah, we can't hit the buttons for you, for sure.
Yeah. We don't care if you learn or not. We'll sure teach you, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Why people out there, they're scam. Well, they're just trying to make money. They're so... It's just like, you fucking
yeah, and when we actually show useful stuff, like how to read the ALR, right? Like, when you see the returns are getting tighter towards the zero line on the ALR, they're going to expand, and you're going to typically see a nice div form when that's happening. Not always, but when it does happen, you're usually seeing divs form when, at the end of that div, the returns are getting towards the zero line, and then it's like, well, it's got nowhere to go but away from the zero line again. We show useful stuff in the videos and in the chats and in the documentation. And we make it as easy as possible to learn this stuff. We're available for questions because we want people to know. But people got to want to know it. They got to be willing to put in the time and the effort. It does not come automatically.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't just stick your head on a pillow, go to sleep, and wake up knowing this stuff. Your book can't just be under your pillow.
People, I still don't understand. I don't know. I'd be like, okay. That's why I tell people, look, when you hear any of us say Z-score, returns, dude, Google it. You got to understand what the fuck you're even, what you're accepting into your mind. Of course you're not going to understand it. Or you say, oh, this is a returns oscillator? Okay. Oh, yeah, I don't understand it. Then you ask them, well, what are returns? Oh, I don't have any idea. Well, how the fuck are you going to understand this? I'm not going to sit here and give you the fucking definition of everything. This is how I started. I heard Bally talking about shit. I wrote down and Googled it, and I was just like, oh, what's this shit? Okay, well, I'm just going to read everything I can find about it, which there's not much. That should be everybody's first little red flag. Why can't I find like a great amount of information about this stuff? Well, because people aren't sharing it, man. Why would you? Why would these big firms sharing information like this? They wouldn't. They don't. It's simple. It's foolish. They love having all the liquidity. They're using everybody for liquidity that's trading the way they're trading.
Right.
It's like, hey.
They don't mind screwing the little guy. That's their business is screwing the little guy.
Yeah. Exactly. So, I kind of help the little guy.
We don't mind helping the little guy figure his way out and figure his way through the Shark Tank successfully. Yeah. But
they're going to want it. Plenty of information about traditional TA out there for everybody to just bite into. That's what they do.
Yep. Yeah. They make sure everybody knows TA, and that's garbage. Mm-hmm. Provably garbage.
Provably.
Like we can show. There's videos on this YouTube. I don't even want us to do it now because people can go look through, just search on our YouTube for RSI alpha trading, and we've literally compared, like, I think RSI to any of our other indicators, volatility, variance, whatever it is, V-score. You should just see how many times RSI just fails. Same with stochastic, same with fib. All those tools, they fail more often than they will give you a big win. And there's a reason for that. It's because it's lagging information based on lagging indicators. They're showing you stuff based on price action, and the price action follows the volatility. Now, granted, we have a couple of amazing tools that do work with price action, but they work with the price action in such a way that they have kind of standard deviation stuff, or they have standard deviation stuff built in. And for whatever reason, those tools happen to work. That's why we use them. Like, you know, if I could stare at a camel's toenail and tell you what the price of something will be, I would do that too. But I can't, so I don't use that tool.
We literally just worked camel toe into the stream, ladies and gentlemen. We just reached another level. Right when I was pulling up the fucking RSI on the 4-hour chart on SPY to show people what we're talking about. Look at the RSI, lower lows with price action on the 4-hour. What are the returns telling you? And not only are they telling you that bull div has been building since the top up here at fucking where it was like, I don't know, 430 almost or something. All higher lows. And it's right on the zero mean right now. Tell you what, if SPY starts pumping and this jumps off the zero mean, we're going to probably see last week's weekly tested. This is the difference, people. If you didn't know, here, I'll even make it brighter. Let me change the colors on this piece of shit indicator here. Let's see. What is it? Purple.
Look how many trades. Look how many trades you would have missed on that 4-hour. Look how many. It's just unbelievable how many trades you would have missed on that 4-hour.
Yeah,
with that RS thing.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It is insane. So all lower lows, not on the returns oscillator. It's whatever. It's August. It's September 6th. Do you know where your Z score is? Probably not, because you don't even know what Z score is. So what are you looking? You're looking divergence between what the strength of the price action and price action. The fuck does that make any sense?
So,
I never asked
you. It's telling you what might have been interesting to know in the past, maybe, and the chances are not.
Yeah, and look here, look on the daily. RSI down. That's a returns oscillator. Returns oscillator setting up some mean bull div right now, with that Z score at the 95% confidence interval, with a very low volatility print that just went significantly positively correlated as it's expanding to a 4%. So, I mean, there's definitely signs on these charts that SPY is going to definitely get a bounce here. There's no doubt about it. All the way down through all these time frames. Crazy.
Yeah.
Can erase
that. It's just RSI. It's just garbage information.
Oh, it's
garbage. It's really. If people use that, I mean, if you're a TA user, look at this screen right now and see how horrible this stuff is compared to our indicators. You're missing the moves. You're getting wrecked. And it's because you're using garbage TA tools. And we're not saying it to be mean, and we're not saying it to demean you, and we're not saying to belittle you or make you feel, less intelligent. We know you've been fooled like every other smart person and every other person who tried to use these things. Like, it's not your fault.
Look at the RSI dumping right here. When the returns oscillator is going to the top side, right? Comes back down, turns back up here. I mean, bull div. You're not seeing any of that on the RSI. And man, all of a sudden my whole trailer smells like cheese. I got to get this off my chart. There we go. What the fuck is that smell? Oh, it's the RSI.
Yeah. And notice every time you have, like, if you're a TA person who uses fibs, every time you slap up a fib, if you use our tools, guess where those golden pockets land when they do, which is rare because they're completely subjective nonsense. But when they do happen to land, they land on volatility levels.
Yeah, they do.
It's not random. It's not by coincidence. That's because volatility levels tell you where the price action is going to be, not some silly fib that you could stretch from any point to any point.
Well, what I love is just, how everything, they just, people adjust that stuff to their liking all the time. If you have to adjust your patterns, if you have to adjust fibs, they're worthless. What do you can't make good decisions.
Yeah, you're just fibbing yourself.
Yeah, you're fibbing yourself.
Fibbing.
Oh, that's great.
You're just fibbing.
Yeah.
Turn on
It's really like when you use the garbage, well, you're going to get garbage as a result. And we're telling that to people constantly, here and everywhere else we do, because it's like, well, if you don't want to keep getting wrecked that way, maybe just consider that you're using tools that are not designed to win. They're pushed by the biggest companies in the world, literally the biggest companies like BlackRock and Citadel and everybody else who trades and does investments. They look at standard deviations. They talk about sigma moves. It's not rare to hear them mention returns, but nobody knows what they're talking about because everybody else is learning RSI and FIB. Even what's that name? That lady from ARK Investments, Kathy Wood or whatever, right? That's her name.
Yeah.
She was even talking about like the 200 Bitcoins below the 200 moving average or whatever, like the weekly move. Like she's fooling people.
Yeah.
She's a serious investor supposedly, and she's telling the nonsense to people, to major financial news networks and stuff. Like the whole system is rigged against retail traders from the very top, and those people do not use this TA stuff. People at HFT firms, people at they just don't use this. They use it. It's a joke to them. It's literally that's why they call TA traders and retail traders the dumb money, right? There's a reason for it because they're using dumb tools. They don't want to learn this stuff. The smart money is the people who have the 10x powered brains, 10x level talent working for them, using real math, not garbage.
Maths. Right here.
Maths.
It's maths.
Yeah.
It's all maths. Yeah. Well, that distribution's bullshit. Yep, you're right. It is. It's total bullshit.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. What's distribution? Why should we care about some French mathematician from hundreds of years ago and his distribution model?
That's why.
Because it works?
Yeah. It's crazy, man. All about the probability. Yeah, you can tell people that a million times. They just don't get it. It's like, well, you need to start thinking. You need to drop all the old thought patterns and start reteaching your brain to see real data and understand that fucking data price action is following the returns. That's the biggest key. Once you realize that, you're like, well, what the fuck's all this other stuff people been teaching me? Exactly. It's nothing. It's worthless bullshit. Like just Yas said, it is a scam coming down from the top. They are making sure that people fucking dive into traditional TA.
Yep.
Crazy. What time is 10:01? All right. Let's we'll have to see how this plays out the rest of the day, and we'll be back tomorrow morning, 9 a.m.
Yep. All right.
Cut out.
Have fun.
Got some work to do. All right, boys. I'll see you.
See you, fellas.